Hello, and welcome to this Fujitsu vodcast. My name's Graham Bromham, and I'm delighted to be joined by Lee Schwartz today, and we're talking about Fujitsu uSCALE. Welcome, Lee.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
It's great to be talking today about a subject that's so close to my heart, and I hark back to us working together, setting up the service provider business in the UK, probably 5 years ago, where this all started. Great to catch up. So, what's new?
Well, first of all, also awesome to be back talking with you. I mean, uSCALE's come a long way since those days. So that must have been, four years ago? Something like this?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. And, it's gone from strength to strength ever since we did those very first deals in the UK. Obviously, now it's a European-wide offering. And in terms of what's new, probably two things are new. First of all, a big focus that we've been placing on offerings. So creating standardized offerings that we can sell under uSCALE. As you all know, we started uSCALE as a very consultative-driven offering, where we could really build solutions that were specific for customer requirements and not to be too prescriptive with how we sold it. But we've kind of learned and evolved as we've gone on through the years, and we've done a lot of those deals now where we've really constructed it for a customer scenario, and we've learned what works, and we've learned what we can package and then what we can take out to customers. And what we launched 2 weeks ago now, a couple of weeks ago, is two new offerings. One with VMware, so uSCALE for Hybrid Cloud for VMware, which is a pre-packaged offering of Fujitsu hardware, VMware software, and all of the uSCALE services, priced and billed on a consumption basis for the whole.
Nice.
And the initial numbers we've run is it's about 25% better TCO or return on investment than a CapEx offer because of all of the things we're able to integrate into the offer. So that's one that's really good,
exciting,
and perfectly suited for customers who are kind of on this hybrid cloud journey where they are keeping some of their infrastructure on premises, but they want some workload portability options into the public cloud with the good stuff that VMware are doing, both with their own partners and hyperscalers. So that's one. And the second one is what we're doing with uSCALE for containers with SUSE, which gives us, in a very similar way, a pre-packaged offering which enables customers to consume a container-based infrastructure all under the uSCALE wrapper. So this is super exciting. We're putting a lot of investment into more of these pre-packaged offerings. And I think the second thing I would mention is what we're doing with our customer success portal. And this is, again, sort of harking back to the origins of uSCALE, where we built it really with human touch in mind. So every uSCALE customer receives a customer success manager who is the direct point of contact for their entire uSCALE estate. But what we've done is we've built the expertise we have in those customer success managers into a portal that customers have access to free of charge. We're rolling it out now to all live uSCALE customers, where they have full transparency into their estate, their monitoring, their billing. They can request contract updates and add to the uSCALE environments, in addition to the customer success manager's role as part of a uSCALE offering.
Nice. I think customers really appreciate that, and seeing the evolution of our tools and our tooling to be able to help them. I guess some degree, some customers want to do the self-service piece as much as they can. So that's really cool.
Yeah.
One of the things when I'm talking with people, and I guess I hear colleagues, talking around, is some people still have challenges about understanding what uSCALE is, and I guess maybe you can help me unpick the myth that uSCALE is just another finance product, because we hear that a lot.
We do hear that a lot, and I think actually that's nothing specific to uSCALE. Right? That is, I think the general trend to as a service and consumption models is always plagued with this. It's just a clever financing wrap label. I mean, the first thing I would say, and we always say in customer environments, is in uSCALE, the customer signs a contract with Fujitsu.
Yeah.
Whether that be the partner or the customer. So there's no finance provider involved in the transaction. And clearly, because the customer is receiving a variable service and they pay for what they consume, it's not a fixed financing product, right? And we're using this example now, and let's see if this resonates. If this resonates with you, is if we compare it to buying a house. So a financing model on a house is a mortgage, right? So if you've got a 5-bed house, you take a mortgage for your house and you pay it back per month until you've paid off the mortgage, right?
Yep.
If I were to take the example in a uSCALE model, you would then take the same 5-bed house and you would pay your mortgage on 3 of the bedrooms. So there you pay those, you need those, you pay those every month. The other 2 bedrooms, you only pay for those when you open the door and you go in it. And then the clock starts, and the time you're in the room, you're charged on a per minute basis. And as soon as you close the door and you finish, you stop paying for those rooms.
Nice.
And that is more the essence of uSCALE. And then to continue the analogy slightly, in this scenario, you would have a butler who is taking care of everything to do with the house. They're keeping you updated with what's going on. That would be the uSCALE Customer Success Manager. And then imagine the house is equipped fully with CCTV, which is then keeping an eye on its connections, making sure it's working well, keeping you and your butler updated with all the happenings. That would be the uSCALE Customer Success Portal.
Wow.
And we're really wrapping that all together, and that is the uSCALE service. So it's clearly much, much more than a finance.
That is a really nice way of explaining it.
Yeah, and how do you see this in your customer examples? I mean, how do you get around this objection?
To be honest, not as articulately as you've just explained. In terms of, I think that's a really good analogy. So, talking around the flexibility, the fact that it's not fixed term. I guess the flexibility piece as well. In terms of, as you said, you want to be able to use those, that fourth and fifth bedroom as and when. I think the other piece is almost the other aspect, which is maybe you've got a sixth or seventh bedroom that you can burst into. It's almost like you've got an extra extension. So that's really it. And as opposed to customers saying, I've got my costs spread across 36 months. It may be a shift from CapEx to OpEx, but Fujitsu uSCALE is so much more than that.
Yeah.
So, no, totally.
And I think we'd add one thing, and because we do see customers, I'm sure you do as well, that are just looking for a simple CapEx to OpEx shift.
Yeah.
And they aren't that interested in the consumption-based stuff because they know what they're going to use. They just don't want to commit their initial CapEx budgets to that now. And we can clearly provide that via lease-based products, right? Yeah. And there's still a need for that, absolutely. It's still a good way to consume IT infrastructure, but I think serves a different customer need than a consumption model like uSCALE.
That's a really good point. I mean, one, I'd love to be paying my mortgage based on that basis. with young adults now at university, it would be lovely only to be paying for their bedrooms when they're home. So I'll definitely take you up on that. Now, pick up on another point that you were saying, which is around customers who want fixed finance. What about addressing the challenges around those public sector customers? Because one of the things that I think we're all challenged is the typical purchasing annualized budget in public sector. And I know with colleagues in the education sector, etc., we have lots of those discussions, etc. Just talk to us a bit about that and what you're seeing.
Yeah, it's a slower burn. I think this would be the fair answer. So typically, exactly as you say, we see that most all around Europe, really, that public sector organizations in general have their budgets approved a year ahead of time. So it's a bit of a slower transition to these type of models because it gets to the end of the year and organizations need to use their budgets. So it's not as easy to just say, well, we'll just charge you on a per month basis. But we are seeing a shift now, particularly in the kind of RFPs and RFIs which are coming out from public sector organizations across Europe, where they are looking at more cloud-like options.
Yeah.
I think this is twofold. This is one, because a lot of them are moving some things to the public cloud, and that's driving then budget changes, of course. And also now they're seeing the value of either they've moved some things to the cloud and they need to move it back on premises in this kind of cloud repatriation style shift, or that they just want to free up space in their data centers, maybe move to a co-location provider or another way to consume. So we are seeing it change. I don't think it's been as fast as the private sector. So we definitely see more proactivity in some of those verticals, and particularly, as you rightly know, and as you mentioned at the beginning, uSCALE was really designed for the service provider market. This was where we pitched the offering
originally,
and it's still probably one of the biggest verticals for us across Europe because of the way we've designed the offering to be quite services light. A lot of the services are optional, so for service provider partners they can add a lot of their value on top of the offering. This is an area where we differentiate in the market, so we don't mandate very much at all. So it's a lot of space for service providers to add their value. And also the levels of flexibility that we offer with uSCALE, because of the way we provide the offering, we can provide up to 70% flexibility. So enabling a service provider, for instance, to start with a new service offering and then grow it over time, but only pay as they grow it, is something that's, again, fairly unique to the way we built uSCALE, which harks back to the origins of the offering.
Yeah. And I think one key point on that as well is linking back to the public sector piece, but also the flexibility of uSCALE. One thing I know I've seen across our team here in the UK is working with customers' creativity, using the flexibility that we have in uSCALE to I guess, to address financial requirements from a business that maybe not totally committed to being OPEX and almost are a combination of CapEx and OPEX, or a combination of higher commit and then flexibility. So, combining that and the flexibility that we have, and I guess the reason I raise that is that lends itself quite nicely in some of the discussions that we've had into public sector and education, etc. It's almost combining annualized budgeting, limited operational, and the flexibility uSCALE enables you to be able to do that based on what your financial requirements are in a business. We're seeing some quite good discussions and success in that area with that flexibility, let alone the product flexibility itself.
Totally agree. And that's, when I say we're looking at things like more standardized offerings and tooling and these kind of things, we will never lose the essence of uSCALE. And I think actually the essence of Fujitsu, that we are an agile company when it comes to building these kind of offerings. And, again, when we created it, really designed around a customer use case. And even now, every time a customer brings a certain set of requirements to us, we're not pigeonholed into certain places, right? We can really use all the tools at the disposal of Fujitsu to come up with the right solution for the customer. And in some of the cases like that, it might be that we then set up a year one, it's structured like this because that aligns to their budgets, and then year 2, 3, and 4, etc., it changes. And this is all at the disposal of the team. So it's one of the real things we will never lose about uSCALE.
Brilliant. So massive evolution. We know we've seen real success in the product, and that's growing consistently. I mean, where are you seeing that success? Where are the highlights for you?
Coming up next. So I think the main thing we're focused on at the moment is sustainability. So sustainability and sustainable transformation is exactly where the Fujitsu Group wants to go. And we inherently within uSCALE, it's a sustainable way to consume IT, because you only have on site what you actually need at that time. And then we might deliver more as the contract goes on, but you're never over provisioning to a very large extent. So it's already a more sustainable way to consume IT than buying CapEx. But we're investigating a lot of ways to make it even better. So the tooling and the monitoring tools we use at the moment, we are working on certain integrations for them to be able to monitor things like CO2 emissions of the environments, to give that level of transparency to customers so they know exactly what their IT environment, the impact it is having. And a little bit further down the line, and when we get customers that are interested in going down in this mode, we'll also probably be looking at things like charging based on CO2 emissions. So if that directly aligns with the customers or the partners, their own company goals, they want a certain amount of CO2 emissions is kind of their goal.
I guess there's a drive there to just make sure things are not turned on, left on, etc. They're optimized.
Exactly, optimize it. And then if you align the payment methods to that optimization, it will drive a certain behavior. And if that aligns with the goals of that company, it could be a really good way to do this. So it's definitely in planning. It's not something we offer right now, and we need to find the right customers where it will work to do certain pilots. But that I'm very excited about that, because not only does that really align to what we are trying to drive as Fujitsu, I think that will really appeal to quite a lot of customers.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that would be one. And I think maybe the aside from continuing to drive more offerings and also more repeatability in how customers and partners can get access to uSCALE pricing and configurations and these offerings. So we have the price estimator tool, for instance, that any partner or customer can go and click through and design what their uSCALE environment might look like, and then price it very, very quickly, either through our sales team or directly on our websites. The other one is the integrations we're making to grow the hybrid cloud offerings underneath uSCALE. So whilst uSCALE and what we provide at the moment is an on-premises environment charged like a cloud, we're looking at integrations we can make with certain cloud providers to provide a fully hybrid environment using similar technologies in the cloud environment and the on-premise environment to allow workload portability between the two environments, but charge it under one contract under uSCALE.
Yeah.
And this is early stages at the moment, and obviously a lot of customers use their uSCALE environments in that way, particularly our service provider customers who are delivering those kind of services out. But we're looking at how we can give that integration more natively within uSCALE, which I think will solve quite a lot of problems for customers, and also just, again, gets that back to this point where you have one bill for one service or one system, rather than having to do all of these things independently. So quite a lot of interesting stuff going. I could really talk for much longer, but that would probably be the highlights.
Great. That's super exciting. Thank you for updating us. Yeah, so some really exciting stuff. Thank you for everyone who joined. I hope you found that really interesting. And remember to look out for our further episodes in this series, and we're going to be covering AI and ecosystem. So keep your eyes peeled for those, and thanks for joining.